Good morning.
Good morning.
Hoping I remembered to switch my mic back on. You guys can hear me? Is it on? Okay, good. Just double checking on all of that. I'm so glad to be with you today. And I will tell you a little about myself, but I'm going to have another quick prayer just to kind of help myself focus. Let's bow our heads. Lord, thank you for this chance to worship with each other, knowing you are here in this place. Show us what you would have for us to learn and grow today. Amen. All right. Well, I am Jana Lee. I am at the conference office. My official title is Director of Church Ministries. I'm in my 5th year at the Oregon Conference office. Before that, I was a pastor for about 20 years, various places. And so I love what I get to do now, which is come to churches and hear what's going on with them and learn how I can support and what you guys need. And I just really enjoy seeing all the different churches all around Oregon and Southwest Washington, and each one has its unique personality and its unique gifts, and seeing what can be done. So I'd love to hear from you. If you have a ministry sometime that you're like, oh, I've been excited about this, that's what I'm here for, and I love it. So we moved here, I moved up here from Southern California. It's where I mostly grew up, with a lot of variety thrown in. And I have a lovely husband and 2 teenagers that are sometimes lovely. And they go to Columbia Adventist Academy. I live over in Battleground, Washington. But been in this area since 2010. So I have heard of this lovely church, and I've been here for random things, but this is the first I've gotten to worship with you today. So I'm grateful for the invitation. And I'm going to give you a little warning in that I've spent a lot of time preaching. And when I was thinking about what is it that I want to be able to do with churches, I realized that preaching, I really think, is really good when you have the speaker and there's some consistency and stuff, and so you take it to heart. But you guys, most of you don't know me. Some of you know me better than others. We work together, we know each other. The truth of the matter is there's a saying that is true, and that is the person who's talking is doing the learning. I'm a great learner in that saying. You'll get there. I love to talk. And I love to be that person. And so I also know that when I come in, when we're going to talk through and we're going to learn together, the best way for us all to learn and grow, you ready? It's a little bit scary. You're going to be talking. You're going to talk to each other. I'm not going to make you talk to somebody random. If you choose to, more power to you. But there is going to be some engagement and talking. So just mentally prepare yourself for that, for church today. And what I will say is this. Here is the good news. I'm just here today. So if you love it, great. You can talk about if this is something you want to incorporate, what you loved about it, wonderful. If you hate it, you never have to deal with this again. Okay? And it's not going to harm you. I promise you will survive a different little thing that we're trying in church today. You will make it through. I have faith in you. Okay? All right. But I am going to talk some. I'm going to intro this. I just kind of wanted to set that up. Now take a breath, and I won't be too hard on you, I promise. So I'd love to see by a quick show of hands, how many of you consider Rockwood your home church? You've been coming here a little, most of you. Not everyone, but most. Some are visitors, some are from other places, some may be popping in. That's great. There is something really, really special about home. We promised that my PowerPoint was here and ready. And, I put the wrong first slide, but I think it'll be better after this. I hope I sent the right. Okay, this is good. So as I mentioned, I'm a pastor. I was a pastor's kid. And so my home church often changed. And that's okay, right? You can have more than one home church in your life. And I now go around and speak to all these different churches, and it started having me really think, like, what is home? I moved quite a bit through my teenage years and my college years, and then find different places to settle. And the question becomes, what is home, and what makes a church feel like a home church? Now, some of you are like, well, it's because I've been here since before I was born. My grandfather built this church. Those stories very much exist, and I love that. And many of us have a different story of some reason we chose this or wherever we're at, or that we didn't choose it, but we have something in our mind, like what would make something your home church? Well, about 2 or 3 years ago now, I had a really, really unique experience that had me thinking about this in particular. Because as a pastor's kid turned pastor, the question came is, what is my home church? What does that mean? So I grew up, a lot of my growing up years and formative years, in La Sierra, California. Anybody been to La Sierra, California? All right, so for those of you that don't know, it's part of what's called the Inland Empire, which is a really nice way of saying it's a big city tucked in behind bigger cities and it's really hard to get out of. It's inland and really hugged in with lots of traffic. And so I grew up there, and in that time, my dad pastored a few different churches, but because of how busy that area is, we didn't have to move very much with that. And my grandmother lived in La Sierra that whole time and is actually still there. She is 93, and most of that time she was in one house that my dad grew up in. She only recently had to move to a home. And so I went back to La Sierra, and I took my oldest son with me, this is 2 or 3 years ago, to go visit this area, to go see my home. Now, my kids had been born there, but they've been gone since they were 3 and 1, and so we've been back a few times. So I took my oldest son with me, and we decided to take my grandmother to church. She couldn't drive anymore. It was hard for her to get to church, and so she didn't get to go very often. And so we decided to take her to her home church, which was the La Sierra University Church. And so we drive up to the La Sierra University Church. It's very close to my grandma's home, and my dear, sweet son was very good about taking my grandma's arm and walking her across the parking lot. And her sight wasn't very good anymore, so she shuffled and didn't lift her feet up very much. And my son later says to me, I'm pretty sure the amount of time it took us to walk from the car to the church and back to the car was longer than the entire worship service. But he took her on his arm. It's gonna like me. And there's us in front of the La Sierra University Church. And it's a church that I spent quite a bit of time at in my growing up years. So we're coming up to the church, and one of the unique things is La Sierra University Church is a very tall church. And so there's steps to get to everything. And yes, there is one side that you can do as a ramp, but my grandmother was walking, right? So this isn't like pushing her in a wheelchair, it's just shuffling. So a ramp, trying to get from the parking lot all the way around to the side with the ramp was not feasible. She could still go up. So it made more sense for us to go up. So we just parked on the side and we went up the closest entrance, which was along the side. It would be like coming in like essentially right there is like where it would have been in this church. Like there's a side entrance, luckily, and you can come into the side of the church. So we go up the stairs, and there's a greeter there. And I noticed that the greeter is wearing a lot of tags, which isn't very common. And so I looked to see like why these tags, and it says class of something, 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 something. And I realized that we've come to La Sierra University Church on alumni weekend, which is funny because I graduated from La Sierra University, and I've shown back up on alumni weekend without realizing it. I'm like, well, that worked out well. I am now back at my university for alumni weekend without actually planning to be. And so we come in that door, and it actually comes in right at the front, and as happens, a woman walks towards us in the hallway and sees us and makes eye contact. And she instantly knows who we are, and I know who she is. She was and is, I'm not sure, but she was one of the alumni directors at La Sierra. Her name's Candace Jorgensen, and she is an angel sent from God, so I will absolutely give you her name. And she sees us, and she's instantly welcoming, because what she is one of the community members that goes and visits my grandma. My grandma never wanted to move from her home in La Sierra, and everybody else moved. And so we don't have family that can take care of her and see her because she refused to move. And what instead happened is that the La Sierra community stepped in for us. And I'll tell you, my grandmother's now in a home, and Candace still goes weekly to read the Bible to her. It's an amazing thing. So it happens to be that Candace is coming down the hallway right as we're walking in, and she is in charge of the worship service that day because she is both a leader at this church and the alumni person. So she says, just come sit with me. Come sit with me right up front, which was the easiest thing to go to. So my grandma and my son and myself end up sitting up front at the La Sierra University Church. Now, some of you may not have been there, but if you've been Adventist for any amount of time, you understand that our university churches are pretty big and they tend to have a formal feel to them and everything. So now we're in this big church that I had been a kid at, that my dad had been a youth pastor at, and we're sitting up front just before the worship service as everybody that can see around us is looking at us like, are you part of the service? Nope, we're just sitting here on the front pew. And here we are sitting on the front pew. It's gonna like me. There we go. My son is happier than that, but that's his favorite face for all pictures, still to this day. And in this picture is the lead pastor, the current lead pastor for the La Sierra University Church, Icky Timey, who I went to college with. And this was really funny. Do you guys recognize the profile next to him is Dick Dirksen, who had literally the month before retired from the Oregon Conference Office, and we end up at La Sierra University Church on the same day, and he was the keynote speaker because he's a La Sierra grad. And I'm sitting in front of this church and enjoying this, and I see the lead pastor that I went to college with, and there's another pastor on staff that I went to college with, and one of the directors is also somebody that I grew up with. Like, I'm seeing random people here that I know, and I'm sitting there, and I start realizing that I walked into a church that I haven't been to in years, full of people that I don't know, and yet I feel like I have come home. That moment where you feel like you have come home is a very special moment. And so, pastor that I am, starts analyzing this. Why does this feel like home? Because yes, I had spent some time here as a kid, but honestly, my dad probably was only the youth pastor there for 2 or 3 years, which means I was like ages 4 to 7, 8, 9. I don't remember, but I was quite young, okay? And then he moved churches. So it wasn't the church that I spent the most time at as a kid. It wasn't the church that I went to as my youth group. It wasn't that. It wasn't like I had this feeling that like the youth leaders, I knew them, but it wasn't my main source of that. I actually did intern here as a pastor in college, as their youth pastor for a funny little side story that was. I thought I was gonna be helping the youth pastor, and he asked me to help him while I was going to college. And then the day that I started, he's like, I'm taking a call somewhere else. And so I had to run the youth group while they found a new youth pastor. So I did intern there. But I since then had pastored multiple churches and been at multiple churches. There wasn't this one, the things, like the life markers. What was it? And then I started thinking about what I did have there. I do remember being a child there and knowing the people that sat near me. There's a balcony up there, and I could look over the edge, and we knew the people around us, and I felt wanted and seen as a little kid there, that I always felt welcomed. And then when I was in junior high at La Sierra Academy down the road, my friends and I decided we wanted to put on a Vespers program. And the church said, okay. And they let us come up with and plan and then advertised, and people came and watched us, junior high kids, put on a Vespers program, all done by us, and they showed up and supported us through this so that we could do this thing. And I'm sure we thought we were doing something amazing for them. They were doing so much more for us by showing up. It was the church that when I was in college doing the youth intern thing said, hey, we want to ordain you as an elder at all of 21 years old. And it made me feel seen. And by the way, come to our staff meetings and pastor meetings and treated me as one of the team. And I look back through history at the ways that they made me feel seen and wanted and cared about. And it made it feel like home. So I now know, hold on, I'll say, when we know what makes people want to be a part of a church, want to grow and be discipled, want to know Jesus, it's often, we have some really great things as Adventists. We have some really great beliefs and theology and beautiful things to say. And I love all of that. And when it comes down to it, in a study done of 300 families over 35 years, family and community warmth more correlated with young people growing up to be adults of faith than any other related factor, more than the amount of contact or the type of contact, not how often. Children from families and communities that are perceived as relationally warm are more likely to consider and embrace beliefs and values of that community. And of those relational connections that are perceived as cold and distant, young people are less likely to adopt beliefs and values. Feeling wanted and seen and loved is what matters here. So, I warned you that we were going to have to talk to each other today. And one of the ways that we get known and seen and loved is by being listened to and by talking to each other. And we're going to have a chance to try that out. All right? So, here is your first challenge for talking to each other. Do I point it here or there? Which way where do I point this thing? Back. Thank you. When you were young, or as a young person now, what part of church feels the most warm and welcoming? What is it that makes you feel like a church is home? Talk to each other. I encourage you, if you have people that haven't spoken yet, make sure we're giving people a chance to talk. If you have somebody in your group significantly younger, highly value their input. How's that? It liked me when I was down there, just not up here. It's probably just where I'm pointing it. Thank you. All right. Does anybody want to give some feedback? You don't have to, but I'd love to hear what makes church feel warm. What makes your home church feel like home? What is your favorite thing that makes church feel warm to you? All right, we got somebody. You know, I will repeat what you say. How about that? Because we talked about having a mic, but I don't know we decided anything. Go ahead. Okay, let's hear your mayor's voice. Mayor Jim. There we go. Yeah? Why? Mm-hmm. And so the interaction in Sabbath school, absolutely. Thank you. And praying for others, yes. Very important. What makes church feel warm to you? Oh, man. Okay. Chocolate. I love it. Yes. Potluck. Yep. Sitting together over a good meal and talking. Absolutely. Others, what part of church feels the most warm? Yes, over here. Being with people similar to you, and I think that's true. You say when you were young, But I think we all want people in our own world. Like, that's a normal thing to want. That is really helpful. And knowing that is really is something that really is meaningful to people. Yes? Knowing their names. When you go somewhere and you feel like somebody like greets you and knows you and they know your name and you don't feel like, oh no, I'm supposed to know somebody here. Names matter. Pastor, I have bad news for you. Whenever I've asked this question of churches, no one has ever said that the warmest part was like a high quality sermon. Those matter too. That wasn't the question. But it is humbling to ask this, because what you find is it's rarely this part that makes people find church a home. This part gives us something to centralize around, and doing it well matters, and what we say and what we present and what we teach, all of that matters, but usually only if the warmth is happening. That's where it really comes to. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Sometimes I get on my own little tracks. The text for today, and we're talking about Nehemiah, this leader in the Bible. And you can look up Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 8. And it shows a person that you wouldn't necessarily think this story exhibits this relational warmth that I'm talking about. But I challenge you on that, to see if you see what I see in that text. So, I only put the last bit of the quote up there, so I'm going to read you the first part as soon as I find it in my Bible app here. We'll get there. All right, so we have the story of Nehemiah, and in this story, Nehemiah has gone with the Jewish people out of exile to help them rebuild, right? They're rebuilding, and they're building some protective wall, and he's helping his people build. And he was a cupbearer to the king. He was a trusted person. And he goes to the king and says, please give me a letter addressed to the manager of the king's forest, instructing him to give me timber. I will need it to make beams for the gates of the temple fortress, for the city walls, and a house for myself. And the king granted these requests because the gracious hand of God was upon me. So Nehemiah was able to do these things. But there's so much in that lead up that I find incredible. Because you don't just give somebody access to the king's forest without a trusted relationship, right? You don't just, and people out of exile don't let somebody who has been a friend to the king come into their midst where they have been treated as less than to help them rebuild without relationship and trust being built up. And so when we think about what this commitment to service, which was what the idea of the text for today is, this commitment to service of this community togetherness only happens when there's been time and effort spent in building that relationship. He was only able to do what needed to be done because of time spent in relationship and community. So this isn't just about God saying, oh, you should be friendly, or us telling you should be friendly, or this is what a church should be. But recognizing that this innate need that we have to have community together, God is saying, this is important for where I want you to go. This is for you. Nehemiah was able to do things and build. I didn't mean to go forward yet. And I'm still failing at this thing. So back to Nehemiah. There we go. We are only able to do the things that God has for us to do when we are in a kind of community where we know each other's names and we break bread together and we talk and discuss and grow our brains together. This helps all of us build towards an incredible future that we can't even see now. And so I want to say this. Commitment, what Nehemiah had, starts when we stop asking, is this my responsibility? And start asking, is this God's concern? When we think about the church that we want to be, the church that we want to be our home church and we want to disciple and welcome others, And that's very small type. I apologize for that. But the asking is not, what do I have to do today? But what is God wanting for me and through me today? And as exhausting as sometimes I find life to be, I almost always also find it that whatever God's asking of me is for me. And I find more fulfillment and joy in that than in thinking that I needed to be self-protective. I don't know if it's just the churches that I visited, and maybe this didn't happen at Rockwood at all, but there's a lot of division in our churches today, and society has gotten quite hard. And I genuinely believe that church is one of the few resources that is uniquely placed to heal a lot of that. Because it's a place where people come together, even when they disagree, and can talk about something that is beautiful and life-giving. So that we can have different opinions about different things in life, but we can come together and we can worship together. And what does that mean for Rockwood? The true calling of the worship of the church today goes well beyond this into how we can be a committed community of God, building relationships and creating a space of warmth and community for us. So, my question for you is here on this slide. Can you read it okay? On the back wall, it's hard to see. What builds community? The Jews were coming back from exile, and yes, they were physically building, but they had to find each other again. They'd been gone a long time, generationally. And they had to come back, and they had to build community. So what do you think in the story of Nehemiah, what do you think helped them feel at home? What do you think that was? Talk to each other. When somebody comes, and you don't have to know this biblically, when people have come together from a long way and they have to build a home, what are the things they have to do together to make that a reality, to make it feel settled and at home? Talk about it. All right, I'll take some ideas. It took you a little bit of thinking for that one. Maybe my question wasn't very clear. Fair enough. What are some things people need to do to feel at home in a new place? Yes?
A central goal.
A central goal. Okay.
One is security.
Safety and security.
When you walk and chew gum, first, build up the wall. Protection for the city.
Protection.
Step number 2, and they all came together to build the temple.
So you got a little of Maslow's hierarchy of needs there, right? People can't grow if they don't feel safe and secure. That's really important. And then a goal to work on together. I love that, okay? What else do you see needed for people to feel like a new place is home? Yes? Food. That keeps coming up, but it's just true. Okay, yeah, like a bit of a hearkening back to some nostalgia, some traditions. Traditions can really root you, and they are beautiful and valuable, and finding ways to celebrate those together can help you feel more at home. Any others? Yes?
Being surrounded by people who share the same beliefs, thoughts, ideas, faith,
Yeah.
purpose.
It can feel, it's much safer when you feel that the people you're with, that you have that in common with them. And we know that doesn't mean every single thing, but there's a core, this love of Jesus, this love for us, for them, this grounding in who they were as people to be around them. That's a beautiful thing. A sense of belonging. Yes, a sense that this is a place that I can belong to. Okay, next question. Oh, my word, that came up very slow. I transferred this from Keynote into PowerPoint, and I'm just warning you that's why it's like this. The little tiny, tiny words there that I need binoculars to see says, when people are seeking a home church, what do you think is most needed first? If you had somebody come to this church for the first time, wanting to be here, they showed up, they already showed up. They've come from somewhere and they've showed up here. What do you think is needed first for them to start thinking of this as home? Talk to each other, and then let's see if you guys have some thoughts from that. All right, any thoughts? What is needed, like absolute first, for someone to start recognizing that this could be a home church for them? Yes? Yes. Unconditional love. I love that. What does that look like when somebody walks in the door and wants to feel at home? What? A warm greeting is a huge start. Yep. What else? What do you think is needed first? Yes? Being friendly and inviting. Is that the job of the person holding the bulletins? Yes. Is it only the job of the person holding the bulletins is the question. Yes?
If you can, try to find out what they're really looking for. They might have looking for a certain good program for their children if they have young children.
Showing genuine curiosity about that person. That is hugely valuable. That helps them feel seen and wanted and known, and helps you know them too. It's a scary thing to ask, because what they need and what they're looking for may not exist here yet, or it may not be. And so sometimes we're scared of that. But to show that curiosity helps them feel seen and known and loved in ways that we know matter more than whether or not they end up coming back here, right? We know that God is loving them, and that we can be on a journey there. What else? What's needed? Yes?
Well, I think the best testimony is from my 35-year friend, a Roman Catholic. And then he came to our church. He says, Jim, your church is warm and friendly. If I go into St. Mary's, I go in, I genuflect, I pray, I walk out, I haven't talked to a single person. He said, I love your church.
Coming in and feeling known and wanted and welcomed. Acceptance. Those are hard things. Okay. We're going to do one last little discussion thing, and then we'll be done. We've done really well today. Good job. You've talked, you've listened, you've done well. These are some harder ones, though. So here we go. There's 3. Start with this. Talk to each other. What is one way that your community shows relational warmth to others? And if you're visiting today, or this is your first time today, think about one way that you felt seen and known and welcomed. Just think about that. You don't have to speak up. But if you know of this, talk to each other about that. Tell each other some really good things about this church that you already do well at. Go for it. All right, you guys are a little quieter, so I'll let you talk out loud to me, because I'm hopeful that you're quieter because you already just feel so comfortable and warm here, and not because you don't have ideas. So what are some of the ways that you show relational warmth, that you're saying, this is something we already do that we're good at? What are some of those? Yes? Mm-hmm. Okay. You don't feel that at all here. I love that you don't feel that at all. That's amazing. What else do you feel that your church does well?
Community potlucks.
Community potlucks. We cannot overstate the value of eating together. Beautiful. Yes? A smile and a hug. Beautiful. Yes?
When you're not here, maybe in this church once or twice, and now, because it's cell phones, everybody in this room has. Somebody calls you, they don't want to talk to you, they send you a text. They let you know that you're missing.
You feel noticed. You feel cared about and loved because they contact you when you're not around. I love that. Okay, ready for this one? I'm actually not going to make you, I want you to think about this one for a minute. When might our actions feel cold and distant? We are not perfect. We all can grow. When you think about yourself and your place in a church home, what role do you have that you can say, I could see how that would feel cold and distant? I'm not asking for hands up, just thinking. And then one last. What commitment is God asking from you today? Nehemiah, through relational connection, was able to come in and help a people build a home. We are in a world right now that is seeking community and home. Studies are showing that people are more than ever open to faith. And what they are looking for from a church, they can get great sermon content online. They can get music online, but they can't get community like this online. And people are coming back to church for that connection. People want that relationship. Studies are showing all of this, that the barrier is much less belief and is much more, do they feel wanted and warm and welcomed? So what commitment is God asking for from you today? What do you hear God putting on your heart to step towards being that church that somebody gets to call home because they met you, because they talked to you? Who is that person that God is calling you to? What is it that God is calling you to step into today to create that warmth? Let's bow our heads for prayer. Lord, you have brought us here today. We're not always sure why. We come sometimes out of habit, sometimes because someone else made us, and sometimes because we just really want to, and it's beautiful. We are here worshiping together. And we know that you love us, and we want to share that love with others. We're not always perfect at it. Sometimes we really fail. But today, we want to step a step forward into who do you have us loving today? What do you want from us so that we are the people that are showing others your love? Amen.